Hello, just for moms, Megan, Charlotte, Callie, and Caitlin.
Shout out.
How's everyone doing?
I mean, we have to, for the people who can't see, we have to address Callie is wearing her children's headphones because her ear pod things weren't charged.
Yes, and this is a professional podcast.
Yeah.
We'll post to social.
I said they look like Blippi ones.
They're not. They're Yoda ones.
Okay.
I feel like that's elevated. I feel like that's, that's like the difference between, I'm trying to think of another headphone brands, like cheap Walmart ones and Bose, right?
Wait, is it the brand or does Blippi wear headphones?
He's orange. So
Yeah.
Orange is his color.
It's like his color.
I see.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And a little bit of blue with your collar and your shirt. So
yes.
You really are just Blippi vibes right now.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, so moving on from headphones. So I know watching the news lately has been pretty hard and heavy. I know for me, and explaining it to our children, the LA fires going on. But I know Heidi and Spencer, who lost their home in the Palisades, have been almost like making light out of it, if that's the way to put it. And Heidi has a song out that's been out for a long time, but now everyone is downloading it and streaming it to help them rebuild their lives and hopefully rebuild their home. So there's almost like they're making like a positive out of it. And I feel like people on social media, like Spencer's joke that, it took me losing my home to have like 2 million followers. Thanks, guys.
Well, I think we have to pause for a minute though, because I think Callie has no idea who we're talking about.
No, I mean, I know who they were in. I'm so bad with like pop culture. They were like famous when we were younger, and they're still famous now. They were like in a show, right?
I think we should go back and just quickly timeline. Well, we are recording this in the middle of January, so for this is happening still, and this will be released a little bit later. And obviously, we are just I personally have a friend whose house is gone, and I think for all of us, this phrase collective grief has been flying around because I think it's really hard to know how to, you feel the feelings, but then you're sort of helpless. And we in Connecticut are not technically affected, but we are. So I think all of us we've been talking offline, have observed just how complex these tragedies are when they happen. And I think we're trying to figure out ways to support and help, and whether that's sending money or donations or sharing links or something else. I think for me, that's always sort of the hardest reality, is that I can't make this go away. I can't fix it. So then what is the next best thing? And this is, I think, hard for all of us to just wrap our heads around. It's not like a singular event. This is what do they say, the size of Boston at this point? I mean, it's sort of unimaginable. And I think for all of us, it does hit not close to home in the sense of geography, but I think all of us probably know of someone who has lost their home, or we can certainly put ourselves in their positions, and we're thinking about what would we bring? What would we do? So I think we should, before we jump into sort of the wonderful things that have come as a result of this, certainly the humanitarian aid and countries sending fire support. And yes, we will talk about Heidi and Spencer for you,
Yes.
because I think they're a wonderful example of people who are directly affected and have sort of decided to, I don't know that make light is quite the right expression, but I know what you're saying, Megan. They are trying to take lemons and make it into lemonade, and they've really done it in a very charming, wonderful way. So I guess I wanted to make sure that we just address the main topic in the room.
Yes. Now back to Callie. Were you even born when the Hills was around?
Guys, I'm 3 years younger than you. Yes, I know what it is. I just didn't watch. I didn't watch that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, I know who these people are. I remember, didn't she get, I don't know, she got a bunch of plastic surgery at one point, right? Okay, so I mean, I know who she is.
They sort of, what has come to truth is that they were all playing just characters, and we desperately wanted to believe that this was their real lives, these kids that were working for, who was it, Vogue, and And they just weren't. They were just characters, and the two of them were better than most at playing up their roles as villains. So it's a wonderfully satisfying pivot that they are now sort of the heroes of the story.
And they're actually together now.
They're married.
They're still together. Yeah.
Sorry,
and
guys.
I saw a clip the other day too. Spencer was recently on Bethany Frankel's podcast, and he talked about the Hills. And this was before the fires took place. And he was saying how it was like completely staged. The directors were like telling them what to do and say. So it was like we were watching it and thinking it was like a real reality show, and it really wasn't. But I think we kind of knew it was. But anyways, we still watched it. And they got married. Heidi had a bunch of plastic surgery done. They had 2 kids. And I feel like I'm like almost like connecting to them even more now, because like Spencer's like a really, really good dad. I didn't like realize this. And, and it's like, I saw this other clip, which I thought was just powerful, how their kids are like happy. They don't understand what's going on. So it's like, as parents, they've lost everything, but they're like holding it together for their kids, if that makes sense. And like the kids in these clips that they're showing of Heidi and Spencer just are happy. They don't even really realize they lost their home. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that.
Well, I think they were one of the first celebrities to come forward and say we've lost everything, and they've relocated to a rental that his parents have. So they are, they have a place to stay, but he was very quick to get online. And I think the album that has hit #1 was released like 10, 15 years ago. They put all of their life savings into it. And I'm sure that people were sort of giving them the side eye and not necessarily taking it seriously. But he just said, listen, guys, like I'm a dad, I'm a husband. I have to rebuild a house. This is a marathon, not a sprint. It's going to take us 5 years, millions of dollars. I feel like their insurance was dropped. I mean, he has put out hundreds of TikToks in the last week or two. And he's been very upfront about, I am a dad trying to make money and pay for a house. And here's my beautiful wife single. We put everything into it, go stream it. And he has people like Pitbull remixing it and posting it. He has, I feel like Flava Flav reposted it. So he's sort of a wonderful example of how to be savvy and honest and raw and authentic and, making light of their situation to the point of, just, I think, winning over the hearts of people everywhere. And it's been so fun to watch.
Yeah. Does that make sense, Kallie?
I follow now.
Did we loop you in? Yeah.
I'm so out of the loop with a lot of the stuff. I feel like the few things that I've seen and I feel like maybe we'll get into it a little bit more or in another episode of just talking about going through all this. But like I can't even consume a lot of it, the content around the fires, just because it's just like a mental load that I can't. It's a hard border, like you sort of said, Charlotte. It's like we know it's happening and we want to do things to help, but then it sort of becomes at a point where it's like, it becomes this sort of, what I mean? It becomes this weight on you where it's, when I do watch it, how much it like impacts.
Yeah.
You guys get where I'm going.
I mean, I think the advantage of the 24-hour news cycle and social media is that we do get a chance to witness someone like Spencer rising from the ashes, quite literally, and becoming this sort of hero for everyone. You do get a chance to see, I don't know, like the firefighters from Mexico coming to help and the prisoners that are helping and just the piles of donations that people have dropped off and Halle Berry giving her whole closet. Like there's so many examples of people just heroically stepping forward to help and be part of this community. And that part is wonderful. But if I have found, especially because I just can't stop thinking about my friends and like what it would be like. And those are the moments when it's like, okay, I need to protect myself and
my mental space,
go make pasta for my kids and not carry this burden all the time because I don't have to. I get to when I have the capacity, but I don't have to. And that's a hard line to know where to toe, Yeah.
Yeah. No, we'll move on. But I know for me, I've been like checking the news and like refreshing it, like especially over the weekend. And part of me is like, Megan, you got to stop looking at it because I get like sucked in and I feel bad and I want to help. And I went and cleaned out my closet and dropped off like 4 bags of clothes donations. It's like you want to help as much as you can and you see these images and it's just it's a lot to
I'm in, like, you guys, I don't want to repeat anything you said, but I was for a lot of days watching it repeatedly. But then there was a family in our town that actually just had a fire and they lost everything. And it's a young girl who's from our dance school. And it was like, this is happening right here in my town right now. So I'm going to focus my attention on this. Like, let me go clean out the girls' closet to help this family and do what I can right here, because I've been messaging some people who live out in California that I know that have not been directly affected and being like, what can I do? And they're like, we don't know. Like, there's a million different GoFundMe's going on. There's, you could donate money here or there, but right now, what can I do? So I have pivoted towards helping someone right here, who needs help.
And I think realistically, we should all set an alarm on our phones and have this much fervor for helping in a month, in 6 months, in a year. Because right now, they've said no more physical donations. They don't know what to do with these things. They need people. They need boots on the ground. Obviously, we can't do that. So I think nothing is going to be fixed in the next month, 2 months. I mean, this is going to take years, decades. Yeah. So I'm making a mental note to sort of revisit and check on some of these GoFundMes, or I don't know, do some Googling in 6 months and just see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So on that note, I know we could probably talk about that all day, but we're going to move on to if we had any mom fails last week. So I'm going to start. I feel like I might have a mom fail every day and I want to improve on that, but I try my best. My head spins. Anyways, so I mixed up my kids' lunches and all three of mine eat different things. And that's, again, why at dinner time I'm a restaurant, but that's for another conversation. So I put Nico's lunch in Gianna's backpack and Gianna's lunch, and Nico's mixed them up. Anyways, wrong lunches. They didn't eat lunch. They came home from school really annoyed with me. Mom, you messed up the lunches. They don't eat the snacks that I pack for each other. It is what it is. So yeah, that's mine.
Sounds like it's time for them to pack their own lunches.
I agree, Charlotte. And you know what? From being around you, honestly, like you influence me, because I speak to my children. I'm like, you know what? My friend Charlotte, her kids like do their own laundry. They make their own dinner. Like, you guys got to step.
The volume game is, we just can't keep up with them all. But I started doing it a while ago. And I did have to set up like piles and procedures. So the ship may have sailed for you guys, but it also means that they have no one to blame but themselves.
Yeah.
Kids.
And like you said, it's probably on me that I haven't started this sooner. So I don't know.
I'm a big fan of if they're responsible for it, then they have to take ownership. I mean, like if they leave their lunch at home, obviously I'm going to bring it, but I think it was 2 days ago, Annabelle's like, I didn't like my snack. And I was like, that's not my problem. I mean, you are more than welcome to put whatever you want in your bag for a snack. And I have 3 of you. So tough cookies, girlfriend. And yeah.
I love what you said one of these past episodes about having to write thank you notes when they forget it. I thought that was such a nice, sort of fair, reasonable consequence.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on actually my thank you note, though, from last week when I brought some stuff to school for her. So I need to check in on that because that's a little late.
Well, my mom fail is, I guess it ties into organizing. I feel like I've just lost the thread on my kids' rooms. In not just, I don't care if it's messy every once in a while, but do you ever have those moments when you walk in and the mess is so extraordinarily disorganized and messy that you sort of think, where did I go wrong? Where did I lead a pretty organized life. I talk about organization. We have basic structures in place. And then I open up a bin of toys and there's packs of gum. There's glasses from the sink. There's usually not old food, but there's God knows what in there. And you sort of want to put cameras and see what is happening. And, I'll go up eventually and sit down and get trash bags and go through it all. But it's like I keep coming back to this where like teach a man to fish, and you feed them for life. It's like, I have not taught these kids how to fish, and I don't know where to start, because I felt like I was doing that. And
so I will say this though, like I was that child, and when I got on my own and had to take care of my own things and couldn't find things, and like especially my like being in a dorm for the first time, that's when I learned my own system of life. So it's like you just have to wait till they're by themselves and realize, well, gosh, I live like a goat.
Yeah.
Like this
I
is
mean,
terrible.
Eleanor turned the corner. I remember walking into her room and there was barely space to fit like a single footstep. And there was a point when I don't know what bee got into her bonnet. And then it was, everything had like the perfect place, and it was like magic. So maybe you're right. I mean, I get that. You have to sort of know your own self to know how you want things to be. But yeah, I don't know. Louise's room is something special right now.
Yeah, Annabelle and Eiley, right? Ugh. I just walked in there like right before the show to get something, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? I don't understand how you guys live like this."
I know.
And it smells. And
Oh,
I
the
just
smells. Let's not even get into that.
Yeah.
But last night there was laundry in the hallway, and the laundry basket's in our room. We have one big one in our closet. So I said to Gianna, "Isn't that your laundry from the day in the hallway?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's for the laundry bin." And I said, "Then get up out of your bed and go put it in the laundry bin." I was like, "Gianna, you've been talking, you want to go to summer camp, and you have to be very like responsible. What are you going to throw your laundry in the hallway at summer camp?" And she's like, "Oh no, when I'm there, I'll know. Like, I just know you'll pick it up." Like, okay. I'm like, "But you can't be like, I don't know. What do I?" So she's like, "I know you're always going to pick it up. So I just leave it there."
Yeah. Do you guys play the game of how long is this going to sit here, and just leave something in the floor and just wait and see who picks it up? Because it's always me. No one ever picks it up.
I've had moments where with Oliver, and he didn't notice, so joke was on me, where anything that wasn't or like clothes that he left on the bathroom floor, that's his go-to move, I would confiscate, and I had a pile growing. And I was like, at one point, this kid's going to look around and realize he doesn't have any clothes left. And we never got to that point, but I still maintain that is one way to approach it.
I'm going to try that.
It's not a bad idea.
That sounds fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Kallie, do your kids take the clothes to the hamper?
I have a child that does, and then a child that doesn't. Well, she will if you ask her to. And then I have a 3-month-old and a 1-year-old, so not quite there. We're starting the process. I mean, my kids are still young, so a lot of it's like almost all of it still needs to be prompted. But I do try. I mean, it's one of those things that it's like it takes a lot of effort on the onset to get them in the habits of doing things. Like it's way more work for me. Like you said, Charlotte, it's way more work for me to have them pack a lunchbox. Way more effort for me to have them put their laundry in the laundry hamper than for me to just do it myself. But it's one of those. It's like a long game. But my kids are still little, and one of my kids is a hoarder. Like everything is important. Everything is significant. Like a balloon that is deflated that wasn't even their balloon. So we're kind of navigating that now. We're still at a point where after like a month or two, they forget about it. But I'm curious about how that will transpire as they get older and what that bedroom will look like. So
yeah,
I'm the opposite of hoarding. So, so it's a balance. If that kid holds on special meaning to things, like who am I to say you have to be, I'm not a minimalist by any means, but like, that you have to have less, but to the point of, everything can't be important. So.
Do you have any mom fails you want to share, Kallie?
Not that I can think of. I mean, okay. I'm sure there were some, but the brain is just not there.
I'm going to share one more story and then we'll move on. Yesterday, I was gone all day for a conference, and same thing with cleaning up. I don't know if this happens in all of your homes, but I left at 8:30 and I didn't get back till 3. And my husband was here in the morning helping everyone kind of start their day, which normally he's gone, but I had somewhere to be all day, so he had to be here. Anyways, so I came home at 3:00, and I don't know why in my head I thought things would be cleaned up, but all day they were like the orange juice was left out on the counter that should have gone in the fridge. The breakfast was still out on the counter. I said to Gianna, "You had to get yourself on the bus by yourself. I hope you locked the front door." Like, these are things, again, where I'm like, I bet in Charlotte's house they clean up and lock the door, but not in mine. So it's like I left for the day in hopes that like everyone would kind of figure stuff out, but it's all on, like, I feel like I'm always the one cleaning up after everyone. So it's like they just left it all, and I came home from being gone all day and it was still a mess.
No, mine would not have. I will say that would, if I were in your shoes, I would make a mental note. And so next time I was leaving before the kids, I would prime the pot and say, Mom has to leave. What are some things that need to happen before you go to school? And then that would be a note from me like, oh yeah, they don't know to do these things. But you're still having to do it.
Remind them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that happen in your house, Caitlin? Does everyone like clean up if you have to leave to go somewhere?
No, I'm the only one who cleans. Like the butter,
Okay.
if I was gone for an entire weekend, whatever I left out on the counter before I left, even if it was mine, like an accidental coffee cup, it would still be there 3 days later.
Yeah.
And if I asked about it, everyone would be like, "Oh, I didn't see it." It could be growing like a head out of it and no one would touch it. That's my house. I can't even like, that's not even a mom fail to me anymore because it's just like, it is. It's reality. No one cleans up after themselves.
Okay. I'm glad it's not just my house. Makes me feel a little better. Okay. So, I said let me start over. A trend is happening. Parents are feeding their kids early dinner right after school at 3:30 p.m. when they get off the bus. There's a lot of positives and negatives to this. My kids come home from school and they are starving. Like they want full meals. I'm cooking pasta, chicken nuggets at 3:30 p.m. and like they're 14, 12, and 8. So the early dinner for the 8-year-old right off the bus, because he's younger, works for him. But the older two, they eat a dinner when they get off the bus. They go to activities, and then they don't get home till 8:39. So then they're hungry, and I cook dinner again. So it doesn't completely work in our house, but I know it's working for families that have younger children. And again, getting off the bus and just eating a snack, I feel like doesn't fill them up and fuel them up to finish the rest of the day in my house. So it's like I feel like I have to cook a dinner at 3:30 and then again at 8:30. Is Caitlin, I know in your house, your girls are a little younger than mine. What time do you guys eat dinner?
Well, I mean, I want to like rewind for a sec because I know you brought this up to us the other day. You said it's like a trend, and I don't know if it's a trend. I think it's that people are just talking about it more because if I think back to when I was younger and I got home from school, and then I had to go to dance because I danced like every night of the week. Like I ate dinner when I got home from school if my parents were home. And if they weren't, then I ate after school. And that was just like life. Like that's how it was. But I think more and more people are talking about it as it's becoming more common maybe in households where their parents didn't live a life like that, I guess. Like my husband played sports his entire life. So he said, he's like, his mom was a teacher. He got home from school. You either ate dinner then or you ate dinner after. That was your options. But in my house, my children have been eating dinner at 4 o'clock since they started school because they come home, they're starving, and I'm not going to prep some like my middle child was like, can you just make me a snack plate? And I'm like, no, because then you're going to want to eat again in an hour. So here's your meal, have it. And later on, if you're hungry, then go fix yourself a snack plate. But I'm not doing both. I know that.
And one positive that I just want to chime in is if you eat an early dinner, maybe there's hopes that your kids will go to bed earlier too.
No.
Okay.
I love that silver lining though. I love that you're like, you know what? Maybe we can just shift the whole thing. I like that. I like that.
My oldest is still like downstairs at 8 o'clock. I'm hungry. I'm like, well, kitchen's closed, girlfriend. You find some crackers.
I know when you first posed this, we've always been very traditional. I mean, our kids definitely get off the bus and are famished. So I know that reality. I've never done an early dinner, nor has it ever crossed my mind. I think there's been times when I've tried to be cognizant of having meatier, sort of protein-rich snacks, so they weren't just grabbing like a handful of pretzels. I've been better at that in the past, but I feel like I'm probably guilty of, because they're used to fending for themselves, I don't even know what they're doing. So they come home and we don't have a lot of garbage in the pantry, because I know that if it's there, the kids will eat it in an hour and it's just a waste of money. So it's not me trying to be cute. It's just, like if I get chips, they're gone. So I try to only stock the pantry with things that they're okay to just kind of mainline. And I think they do come home and sort of nibble and eat pretty consistently between 4 and whatever their activity is. And sometimes that's a bagel. Sometimes they make themselves some eggs. Sometimes it's a bowl of cereal. So it's not quite dinner, but it's certainly not, it's bigger than a snack. And then there's a point when I will declare the kitchen is closed, like snack window's done, no more. And then dinner is a little bit later because our kids are older. So they might not have dinner until 6:30 or 7, which has not always been the case. But with little kids, I can appreciate an early, we would have dinner at 5. So that's not too far off from 3:34.
Personally, I don't like it. I do not enjoy it. I don't like my kids coming home from school and acting like I'm their chef. Like, all right, here, where is it? What did you make? Because sometimes I'm not cooking and I'm just like whipping stuff, throwing it in the oven. But Charlotte just said something about her kids coming home and like making something that's actually filling and good for themselves. And I've tried to encourage my kids to do that if food's not ready, and it's still just a dramatic battle on what they can have.
Yeah, like I feel like the fruits and veggies don't cut it. They come off and the bus, and it's like maybe because also like none of my kids, like we have hot lunch accounts. I don't know if your kids like the hot lunch. Some days they do, some days they don't. So I feel like if they eat a good hot lunch, then I don't have to cook them 2 dinners. But it just depends on, how the day plays out. But I do like your point, Charlotte, that about the snacks, because if you have the snacks out, they're going to eat it. And, but I like the snacks for me too. So that's a problem.
Kallie, didn't you shut down snacks?
Yeah, we recently had to. So again, I've got smaller children. And so I feel like I can't let it be too much of a free for all, because it's still so much in the phase of like, I'm still teaching them normal eating habits of, you know what I mean? Like if I let my kids come into the kitchen, eat whatever they want, they would just literally snack until dinner, and then there'd be no dinner. And then, so we're still sort of in that phase. We had a snack bin when I had just my oldest. He was very, could definitely just go into the snack bin, take a single snack, and it was all good. Like it was literally, I had a child level drawer and he could go in and take. My second could not handle that. And so the snack bin had to go up high, and it had to be something only when a grown-up would take it down. But now even that has become an issue, because it's just the novelty of snack, I think. And so we've closed the snack bin. And so what we've been doing, my kids get home, I don't know if this is on the early, they're home by 3, and then we try to eat dinner at 5. So I've started there's like a single snack option. And then that's what they can have if it's something that I know they're going to like. There's usually like yesterday, okay, we had like peanut butter crackers and we had raspberries. And so like, there's more than one thing to choose from. If you don't like one of them, that's available for like the first hour, then it closes, and then it's dinner so I kind of have to control it a little bit more. So there is still a snack bin. It's not available to the kids. And it's been working out really well. They've actually like been sitting and eating. I think the novelty of like getting to choose whatever snack they want is gone. But I've totally done the earlier dinner. My husband sometimes works late. Like if I know he's not going to be down in time for dinner at 5, I will sometimes just serve my kids dinner, like when they get home, and then we'll have the snack later, like at 6 when Michael and I are eating. And that works really well too. When I had just 2, there was like a good period, probably a year of their life, they would eat dinner when they woke up from nap, because it was like, it was not worth, Michael was working late every night. It was just not worth me trying to like force them to wait longer. So I was sort of on this, whatever the trend is, or what people are sharing. They would wake up, they would have their significant dinner then, and then a snack later. Because I feel like little kids too, I feel like until my son hit I don't know about you guys, like 5-ish, it's like they didn't need 3 full meals. they would eat like 1 or 2 big meals. And then like one of the other meals was always kind of a snack anyway. So I was like, what am I doing here? Making like 3, sit down meals when their little bodies didn't even need
No,
it.
and they would fill up much so if they had a snack, my kids wouldn't be hungry at dinner. And to that point, my pediatrician, I think at one point I was talking about one of the boys with him, and he said, lunch, ideally your big meal of the day is in the middle of the day, because if they're eating this giant meal before bed, it can get in the way of sleep and yada, yada, yada. And now that my kids are older, that mind-body connection is a little bit more mature and developed. And so I think I talked about this in the earlier iteration of the podcast, but we have a meal board, and what that means is that there's just a lot more communication with my kids about what we're eating and what I'm buying at the grocery store. So I have now a running list of, I don't know, 15 or 20 meals that they all seem to like. And so every week before I order groceries, I will say, what do you guys want this week? And they always want, they always like a taco sort of thing. But then every week it's a little different. And because I know that they like kind of everything on this list, I don't get too precious about what they're calling out. I just add it and order the ingredients. But snacks are part of that. So like Arthur, my youngest, is 9, and he's learned how to make eggs, and he's learned how to make like and bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, because he can microwave the bacon and he knows how to cook the eggs. And that is a big snack, but because he can do it himself, he knows that that's an option and he might do that. They've learned how to microwave potatoes to make baked potatoes. So that's another significant snack. So we've sort of, in the dialogue of meal planning, we've also talked about, I know there's a cat.
Charlotte should go get her dog.
No. But in the dialogue of planning, we have also sort of scratched the surface on what sort of snacks they can get for themselves that are a little bit more substantial than a handful of pretzels, but less significant than me cooking a meal. And that, they make mac and cheese sometimes, or they'll reheat leftover pasta, or, there's a lot of iterations to that, but it's been helpful. And because they're older, they can have a big snack at 4 and then be hungry again for dinner at 7:30 whenever we're serving it.
Well, yeah, I'm just really no, you could go.
I was just to go off of sort of what you were saying about what your pediatrician said. Like, I feel like I try to talk to my kids too about like how food works in their body. Like you said, like, I mean, even as adults, like, we're not supposed to eat in the 2 hours before bed, because when your body's digesting food, it makes it harder for your body to sleep. And then I try to talk to my kids always, not that it's always getting anywhere, but I always will sort of say what's on their plate, and like, this is a protein. And when you eat like my 6-year-old knows that like when he eats protein with fiber, that helps keep him full longer. So like, we kind of talk about the things that are on their plate. So, and again, obviously if there were chips in front of him, he'd eat the chips, but at least there's some discussion about it so that he can start to sort of understand why we have these sort of rules in place and why we do what we do.
I have a teenager, and Charlotte, I know you have teenagers in your house too, but does this happen in your house? She makes like a late night snack, or I don't know what you would call it, at like 10, 11 o'clock. Yes.
Wait, why is she up at 10 or 11?
I know. But like more on the weekends, I would say. Like, yeah, probably the weekends, maybe a few times during the week, and I'll come the next morning and the kitchen is like a mess. She makes those like the ramen noodles.
Oh yeah. We have
late night.
My son is 13, and he is, he is not listening to this podcast, but he is not he's a very tall, very skinny young man. Like, this is a boy that needs to be putting on calories just because he's big. So when he comes down and he's hungry, I usually will say, what are you making? You have to clean up. And if it's not just garbage, that's fine. And that's, I think, part of him listening to his body. And honestly, my girls are not quite the same way, but I think I would have the same approach, which is, as long as you are putting something useful into your body, then as long as you clean up after yourself, I sort of want them to begin to connect to their own bodies about like, are you full? Are you hungry? Do you feel good in that? Do you feel bad in that? Because I think for me growing up, there was so much of like, this is when you eat. It was so regimented that I sort of lost the thread on what does it feel like to be full? What does it feel like to be hungry? Like we had to have the clean plate club. And that feels ridiculous nowadays because if your kid is full, why would you force them to eat? And so there's a little bit of like, yes, it's not just a free for all, but on the offhand, like if my kids were coming down every night at 11 o'clock, then I would shut it down and be like, no, you need to eat more at dinner. This is ridiculous. But if it's an occasional thing, then I would say just this once, that's fine. I don't want to see any evidence of this in the morning or else.
Yeah. Yeah. Or she heats up like the 1 minute sticky rice. I don't know. It's like these late night snacks. But going off of growing up, we ate, and I don't know how, at the same time during the week. I feel like maybe it was like 5:36. My dad came home from work and we all ate at the same time. We ate the same thing. We had a glass of milk. I remember my mom was good about like, you had your meat, you had your vegetable, and then she would be like, we need a starch. It was like a whole system. And we would eat what we were given. And there was one thing. And that was that. And then my dad would go back to work sometimes. I don't know how we did that. Like, how would that work today?
I mean, I wish that we could do that in my house. My toddler doesn't ever like anything that she liked the day before, so she always gets a separate meal. Then my two older girls lately will take turns on like they'll say they want me to make this for dinner, and then they'll both get home and be like, well, I changed my mind. And I'm like, well, this is what we have. And then my husband and I are just kind of like, well, I guess we'll eat whatever's left over, and I actually mainly cook for all of them. And really, I'm not a dinner person unless I'm going out to eat. I don't really make myself a big dinner. I don't enjoy that. But I feel like when I was younger, Megan, my house was the same, and we didn't never ate all together because my mom and dad both worked two jobs, and so it was whoever was home, whatever. But like my mom made one thing, and you ate it, and if you didn't like it, like that's whatever, too bad. I remember like I hated meatloaf, and so meatloaf nights, I just knew, just shove it in your mouth and swallow it and it'll be over soon.
Let me ask, what is stopping you from making one meal and just putting your foot down?
Arbor won't. She just won't eat. And then she'll cry and want to eat. And then she'll go in the cabinet and take everything out. And
but what if you were to lock up? I mean, I guess,
we don't have that layout in our kitchen. Like I would have to take all of the food and put it in the basement and shut the door. And there's nowhere to go. And the basement doesn't have anywhere to put the food to begin with. You know what I mean? Like she can open the fridge and go in the fridge and get out a string cheese. We don't have a pantry. We don't have like high cabinets where food goes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the tough love in me is saying like, she knows she can't go drive your car and she knows there's plenty of things she knows she can't get into. So she's obviously gotten the memo that you're going to let her take food if she's hungry. Yeah. And not that it's an easy habit to undo, but I would always tell myself, these kids are not going to starve if they don't eat a meal. And they probably won't starve if they don't eat 2 meals. Like at some point, they're going to have to get on board. And to your point, making 3 meals is for the birds. Like that just seems like it's not sustainable. And
you're right. Like you are 100% correct. I am the parent that is like, well, I have a third that's younger than everybody and I give up.
Yeah. Which is fair. That's totally valid.
Yeah. And all I keep thinking is soon it won't be like this. So this will be, like I'll get past this stage, but she does eat a big lunch, like you said. So a lot of times when I'm like, can you get out of, I'm sorry guys, can you just get out of my cat keeps coming in.
We just have this cat butt crossing the stage. Have you ever brought Arbor into I mean, yes, I understand the volatility of young children and what she wants at 2 p.m. will be different at 2:30. But have you ever included her in the process and said, Arbor, what are 3 of your favorite meals? We're going to the store. You're going to help me make it. Like getting her fire. And then she changes her mind.
Yeah. Or she'll eat 2 bites and then be done. But so,
which is
to
great.
bring it back though. Yeah, it's great. And so some nights I do do these 3 meals, or I just straight up am like, okay, she's not eating. And I don't like, it mainly becomes a problem like if my parents are around or my in-laws and they're like, why isn't she having dinner? And I'm like, I don't care.
She's not hungry.
Yeah. She ate. She doesn't look like she's not fed. She's fine.
Yeah, she's fine. I'm in Charlotte's boat. We're the same. I mean, I always provide a food with dinner that I consider a safe food. So like if that means that we're adding dinner rolls or I'm putting some French fries on the side of whatever, something that I know the kids always eat, and sometimes they don't. I mean, I've had kids eat 0 bites of dinner. And that's what it is. I've provided something I know they eat, that I know, you know what I mean, that I know is a safe food. And I feel like that's the best that we can do. I mean, we weren't a big sit down to family dinners. Like my parents divorced and then my mom was working. It was all of that. But my mom like tells me the story all the time. When we were younger, my brother had juvenile diabetes, so feeding him was obviously a little bit tricky. And so she catered to what he wanted when he was younger. And she tells me the story that she was like at our friend's house and we were all eating. And my mom went to make something separate for Brenner, I guess. And she was like, what are you doing? Like, you don't need to make this child something different. If he doesn't want what's for dinner, he can go make whatever your choice is, whether it's toast or peanut butter and jelly. Like that's the always safe thing. And I'm like, listen, if she did it with a kid that has diabetes, then, this is the way that we do it. So I don't force my kids to eat. They don't need to take one more bite, but like, this is what's for dinner. Lots of times it might be something they're not going to eat, but there's always a safe food, which 50% of the time is some sort of bread, because every kid will eat bread in my house. And that's it. Yeah. I can't make multiple dinners. I'm not doing it.
I'm like you though, Caitlin. Sorry. I'm the sucker with the third kid, and I like cook 3 dinners, and I feel like for me, I'm like stressed out that they're not going to eat enough.
And to be fair, we have meltdowns. I mean, it's not like I'm just doing it and everyone's like, okay, mom. I mean, like I have had hour-long meltdowns with child upset about what's for dinner or wanting something else, wanting the cheese stick, and I just endure it because I don't want to. I don't. So like, I'm not trying to paint it like I do it and everyone's like, okay, I'll just have my bread and whatever. No, we get big time meltdowns about wanting something else from the cabinet or whatever. And it's like I said before, the long game. In my mind, I could be wrong. I keep telling myself that like, it's gonna, I'm playing the long game.
Yeah, it'll get better. That's what I tell myself.
Yeah.
Well, but the late nights, the late night snacking. So my oldest was 2 years ago, every Friday morning would wake up and say she had a stomach ache, wouldn't want to eat breakfast, and then would vomit. And I called the doctor and they're like, she's stressed. And I'm like, about what? It's Friday. Why is she stressed? And they would send her, she'd get to school and throw up, or like it got to the point where like she was home on Fridays for 3 in a row. And then I called the pediatrician again. I'm like, she doesn't have a stomach bug. What's going on? And they're like, well, what is happening on Thursday? And I was like, oh, well, she dances till 8 and she comes home and eats. And they're like, well, she has acid reflux. Like she's not digesting her food. So she's waking up in the morning and she's vomiting. So I have a huge rule in the house is like, you don't eat after a certain time Arbor's asleep, but like Annabelle and Eiley, like there's no food after whatever hour, because one of you is like, I just don't need to deal with vomiting from any GI issues, whether it's self-induced or not. Morning. But like Annabelle will still sneak. Like I'll find her with like Ritz crackers, like 9 o'clock. I'm like, you're going to puke tomorrow. So put them away. You're not hungry. You're bored.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to move on from 3:30 dinner talk. It might work in your house. It might not, but those are our thoughts.
I think that's the answer is none of us have a surefire solution.
Pits and peaks. So I'm going to start with Caitlin. What do you have for us this week? A pit or a peak?
I don't remember what I thought about. I have talked about on the show a lot about, not on the show, not in this one. I am very dairy sensitive. And so I don't really eat a lot of dairy. And over the holidays, like I just had a free for all and I loved it and it was great, but I ended up feeling like garbage. So I've been trying to wean myself off. And as I'm doing so, I'm discovering that there are no coffee creamers. So this is a pit. I cannot find anything that goes in my coffee that is non-dairy that tastes good in the morning. So today I just had black coffee with honey, and it was so disappointing and sad. And one of my favorite things in the morning is to be alone and that first sip of a delicious coffee. So I'm in a pit of sad coffee. Okay. No oat milk. It's tearing up my stomach. Almond milk is disgusting right now.
I just heard someone mention pistachio milk. Have you ever tried that?
Wow, that sounds amazing.
But pistachios kind of give me gas, so I don't think I would like pistachio milk.
Okay.
Fair enough. Wait,
great.
Can we go back one second? You put honey in your coffee?
Yeah, my mother-in-law years ago, I remember, was on I think it was like a diet or some kind of eating plan. And they said, instead of sugar, put honey in your coffee. It's a different taste. I kind of like it, but I was trying to avoid the refined sugar in the closet. And yeah, it didn't work. It sucked.
Okay. Kallie, pit or peak for you?
I have a peak. I said that because I had to remind myself which one's the good one. So we moved into a house last year when I was like 28 weeks pregnant. We did a few little projects, and then obviously I was very pregnant, and then I had a baby and we weren't doing anything. So now we are kind of going through the process of touching some rooms again. Like our entire upstairs is just bare walls, no decoration. We haven't done anything. The walls are painted this like horrible off-white, like not a good off-white, a bad off, like the off-white that every house was in 1990. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Every rental house you ever had. So we're going through the process of like slowly fixing that. And so we painted the stairwell like a nicer white, my favorite white. And then I just bought wallpaper to do Tate's bedroom because he's my third. And I feel like he never got like a room. So I'm like, I'm going to start with Tate. He never really even got to have his own like decorated room. So I just bought this really adorable wallpaper and we're going to put that up. And so my peak is that we're finally like touching the sad upstairs that was just so yellow.
Kallie, my peak is a room too.
Yay, look at us.
I know. The beautiful thing about this house is that I feel like I've done a lot, but the sad thing for me as a creative person that feels better when I'm doing creative projects is I don't have any major projects to do. And so I started to kind of wrap my head around what are some spaces that I don't love and maybe I could do something in there. And the two bathrooms upstairs, the girls have one and the boys have one. They've clearly been remodeled, so there's nothing wrong with them. You know, the floors are nice, the vanities are fine, the showers are nice. So I would never just rip it up for shits and giggles, but it's not my style. It's like gray on gray on gray. It's a little tacky, but it's fine. And so I'm starting in the girls' room. And I was like, how can I bring in some fun and some color without getting into replacing the big stuff? And I have by the time this airs, it'll be done. And I think I will have posted it. But it was just so fun to like paint a space and put together a vision board. So that has been a nice way to start the new year.
I wish we lived closer. I have so many blank slates that you can
Oh my
use.
God. I know. I'm so jealous.
So many rooms that are
I can't wait to see the after, Charlotte. I'm excited.
Yeah, it looks cute.
Me too.
For me, being in the dead of winter, my peak is that I've been organizing my home, cleaning things out.
She's still going.
Like come spring and summer, we are not homebodies. We are out. I don't get anything done in the summertime. Spring a little, but the kids are all in sports. So cleaning like every day, and it feels so good and it's like therapeutic, and I'm just going to keep it going till the sun comes out and sets at what time? Like 8 again. So I'm going to try to just do it till then. And then maybe we'll have like a clean house by like, when does that happen? The daylight savings? When is that?
I don't know, but I imagine you like Kimmy Schmidt coming out of the bunker with like garbage bags filled with stuff for Goodwill.
I've been doing it every single night. Even like I've been making it like it in the back of my head. Like last night it was like 9:30, 10 and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't clean one drawer today. So I like went to like the battery drawer and I was like organizing
But where do you get this energy? Because
I feel like I don't, but I'm like forcing it.
No, 9:30 at night. I am in bed.
Well, I'm a night owl. You and Caitlin, you're a night owl too, Charlotte, right? Or no?
I'm a night owl, but these two, I'll wake up at 6:30 and the text thread, they've already been on it
for like 2 hours. I know. I have to like catch up.
You also have a 3-year-old, which is a different level of energy being expended.
Okay, thank you. That makes me feel better.
Yeah. So
I'm really energetic at 4, but I'm not organizing at 4. I'm having alone time.
You mean you're not like organizing at 9:30 at
No,
night?
I do. No, I do that on the weekends when the kids are occupied, and then I like rage clean, organize. I'm looking at this closet right here. It's next.
Yes. Yes. So thanks for joining us here at Just for Moms, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Is that cringe?